Morning everyone, my name is Audrey. I'm stitchywitch42 here on FlossTube and over on Instagram. And this is my channel about cross-stitch, life, the universe, and everything. Today is January 1st, 2025. And I owe you a video. I owe you a wrap-up of my hashtag 24 bats in 2024. And if you look behind me, they're all there, plus a couple extras. So this is going to be a long video because one of the things that I had done with my hashtag 24 bats in 2024 is I opened it up on Instagram and I said, if you want to play along with me, if you post on Instagram using the hashtag 24 bats in 2024, and if you tag me, stitchywitch42, in your photos, if at the end of 2024 you have completed 24 bat projects, in January I would put you in a drawing for a $24 gift certificate from Acorns and Threads. Several people joined in. Some did just one, some did a couple. 3 of them did all 24 projects. Or 24 projects they chose, I should say. So I went back, I asked these ladies if I could use some of their photos in my video. They all agreed. So what I am planning on doing with this video is to break it up a little bit. I have 24 projects. So I'm going to show 6 of mine. I'll show a little video clip with one of theirs. I'll show 6 more of mine. I'll show a second video clip from another lady. I'll do 6 more of mine. I will do the last video clip from the third lady, and then I will do my final 6 plus. And then at the very end of this video, I have a life update. So it may be a long video. Now, I don't know why every time I start to do videos I want to belch, but I do. You should know that. Several of my friends say when they're doing a long video that you should settle in, get something to eat and drink. And if you know me, you know I'm just the opposite. You shouldn't eat or drink when you're watching my videos. Because even when I warn people and they think they can handle me, I have been told that they have spit out their drink across their computer monitor or snorted their Pepsi out their nose. So, grab your cross stitch, settle back, do not eat or drink while watching any of my videos, and let's get this party started. When I started hashtag 24 bats in 2024, I had a project bag and I filled it with 24 projects. I did not do all of those projects. And I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't, because some of them were a lot larger than what I did do. I did a lot of smalls. The other thing that I did that I didn't ask of anybody else to do is I fully finished every single one of my bat projects because I'm crazy. But you knew that, right? So, I've got my notebook here with my list of them in order. And let's start with number 1. This was a freebie from Durene Jones. It is called Halloween Bat. I stitched it on an unknown even weave. And of course, if I have to put fabric on the back, it had to be bats. Project number 1. You might see a lot of my bottom in this video. Sorry about that. Not really. Second one. Cauldron and Bats. This was a project by Stitch Witch on Etsy. Again, it's on an unknown even weave. When I started this one, I really wasn't sure if I was going to like the colors or not. But I actually think that this is very, very pretty. And I really like it a lot. So that was number 2. Number 3 was Hang in There Mat by Lady Stitchicorn on a 32 count antique white. This one I was stitching right around Halloween and Valentine's. Heart shape. Valentine's. And it starts. So the day after Valentine's was over, because I was still working, I went over to the candy aisle and I just grabbed a heart-shaped box and finished it on that. So when you get your boxes this year for Valentine, save them, because you can put a project on there. And all I did is very carefully, I put a piece of foam on there, I cut it out to the heart shape, I used this as my template, and then I just very carefully glued it around the edges so that it's nice and tight, and then I put rickrack around it. So that's Hang in There Mat. Project number 3. Number 4. Number 4, I think, has to be my favorite. And you're all going to get a kick out of this because it has a house. Last January, I went to Acorns and Threads for their Acorn gathering, which is the last Sunday of the month. They had a pattern that was designed for them from Fox and Rabbits called A Gathering of Acorns. I wrote it down. This is the one that I decided to give the Addams Family-esque vibe to it. And seriously, I love this piece. And it has a house on it. But this is A Gathering of Acorns. I changed the woman in their pattern to look like Wednesday Addams. So I changed up the colors of her dress and her hair. I didn't want to do the acorns, so I made them, what did I call them? Death cap acorns. They're all little skulls. When I did the house, when I did the windows, I used Smyrna crosses instead of just cross stitches to give it a little bit of a different look. I gave it a purple door because I wanted a purple door in 2024, and that didn't happen. It will. And then the roof of the house. That was a combination of a couple of different colors. Some were full cross stitches, some were 1/2 cross stitches. It gives it a very rustic, dilapidated look. And of course, because it was designed for Acorns and Threads, it had a teeny tiny little squirrel down here. Do you know me? Mine has a teeny tiny little thing. So this is my version of A Gathering of Acorns. Seriously, this one is my favorite. And stripes on the back of the flat fold. Okay. Number 5. You saw this side. On the back of it is Halloween Doodles by Heart and Hand. Again, an unknown even weave. It's the same one that I used on the Halloween bat, on the Cauldron and bats, and this one. And I don't know if you remember or not, I was having problems with Frank here, and I renamed him into Ferret Face. And if you know who Ferret Face is, think MASH. But I thought this turned out really cute. And I like doing this cube finish. Helen D does a tutorial on how to do these. It is so simple. It's all held together with pins. But it's a great way to have not one, but two pieces on there, so depending on your mood, you can change it up. And number 6. This was a piece called Halloween from the 2013 Just Cross Stitch Halloween special, stitched on 22 count Dune, and I made a little pin pillow out of it. And again, bats on the back. So those are my first 6 projects. I will be inserting a video here. I think the first one will be from Devi, who is, let me get my notes. Did I write it down? Ermagerd. Glitter Dove Fairy on Instagram. Maybe I should have prepared for this. I'm going to include a video here of some of the finishes she did for hashtag 24bats in 2024. Thank goodness I decided to take a break there so I could run over to Instagram real fast and get the names of my 3 ladies. Devi is Glitter Dove Fairies on Instagram, and I will include everything down below. Okay, project number 7. This is Bats by Stitches and Style on Instagram. It is stitched on a 28 count butternut squash by Fiber on a Whim. And I just love the way these bats looked. And I didn't have a big enough piece of bat fabric to put on the back, so I did some spider webs, which also seemed to happen a lot in 2024. But this is Bats. Number 8, A Study in Bats. This is from Bad Stitch. Again, everybody will be linked down below. This is stitched on 32 count cold foam by BeStitchMe. And I think this is adorable. I love it. The book was a beast. The book was a beast. I was at Goodwill and I found this little wooden plaque, and it has a stand on the back of it. So I just mounted this one on a piece of mat board and glued it down because it doesn't have to be fancy. Turning the page. I have 5 pages of notes for this, just so you know. Number 9 is this pretty one. This was a kit that was sent to me from Devi, Glitter Dove Fairy. It was a Riolis kit, and it came with all the wool threads and the fabric, and I was going to use all of that, except when I stitched the bat I used the wrong color. and I wasn't going to try to unpick it all and reuse it, because no. So I started it over on a piece of 22 count Dune. I was using a lot of scraps up for getting these done, but I think this bat is absolutely adorable. It's so stinking cute. And this one got bats on the back of it, and a little bit of rickrack around the edges. Okay, project 10. Look at the notes, find it over on the table, sideboard. This is from Spooky Birthday Cupcakes, the Witchy Stitcher, stitched on 16 count Banshee. And this is adorable. I may use that word a lot, but it is. I put it in a little cupcake tin. I spray painted the tin black. I put rickrack around it, and then I also put an orange trim in there too, which is kind of hard to see. But I think this turned out really, really cute. Ermagerd people, did you catch it when I was doing my video? I completely skipped one of my projects. This was another freebie from Durene Jones. This was the Halloween biscornu top. It's got cats and bats and pumpkins on it. I'm sitting here editing, and I realized that I went from 10 to number 12 and completely skipped this one. Bad me. There you go. I've now included it. This is real, people. Okay, number 12. Number 12 was one that I stitched in April. If you remember, Anna, Cheryl, and I went over to Bend for the weekend because the 1120 crafters were having a one-day meetup at Cynthia's of Bend. And they had designed a little piece to go on a tin. It's a tiny little thing. Well, the piece that they designed was a bee's life. It had a bee on the pattern. Linda, aka Van Mom, designed a bat for me so that I could change it from a bee life to a bat's life. And there you are. I changed up the colors a little bit, and it wasn't until I got this one completely finished on the tin the way they said to do it that I realized that this top bat is missing one row of stitching. It's only got one ear. But that is so cute. So, so cute. So that's 12 projects. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to insert the next video clip. This one is from 5871 Jen D on Instagram. And she took my hashtag a different route. She didn't stitch individual projects. She decided to stitch all of her projects on one piece of fabric and make a bat sampler out of it. And I love that idea, and I think it's adorable. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to insert that video from Jen, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. I think Jen's piece is kind of fun. It's different. It's a different way of looking at things. But the fact that she did get 24 projects all stitched on that piece of fabric, I thought it was a fantastic way to do it. Maybe I should have done it that way, but no. No, I chose to go the harder route. Do the 24 projects and fully finish the 24 projects. The next one is one of my favorites. I said the Gathering of Acorns one from Acorns Gathering was my favorite. Seriously, it's a tie between that one and this one. But the other one has Thing and Deathcap Acorns. And then there's this one, which is just gorgeous. And I love this one so much. You know what it is? It's the Haunted Library from Lola. This is the one that I stitched on the 18 count Spiderweb from Rogue Stitching. It is one of their sunflower printed fabrics. And I turned the fabric in half and used the top half of the fabric so that I could get all that spiderweb behind it. Now I have to tell you, one of the colors that's used in all of this is the same color as this spiderweb, which caused problems because when I was up here stitching the gargoyle, I thought I had the gargoyle finished. And then I looked at it and I thought, no, I've got the wrong color stitch in there. And I actually got out my unpicker, is that a term? To take those stitches out to realize there actually weren't any stitches in there because it was the print from the fabric in the middle of the gargoyle that looked like it was already stitched. So after that happened, I decided to do each section at a time, and I have to tell you, I was obsessed with stitching this piece. I wanted to get it done because I had so much fun stitching it. On her original pattern, she has the clown from the movie It up here. Not a clown person. Somebody had graphed a typewriter to put in there, and I liked that better, so I swapped it out for that. I loved stitching this. I had so much fun stitching this. And this is the first time that I have framed a piece like this by myself, and I was so happy with how this one turned out. I bought the frame at Michael's. I think it suits this very well because when you walk into the room, the way the wood is cut, it kind of accentuates the spider webs on the fabric, and I think the spider webs on the fabric just make this. So, one of my two favorites. Having said that, I enjoyed stitching all of these. So, project 14. I decided to go for a small one. And I decided to do a little mill hill. This is Boris the Bat. Can you see the shimmer from all the beads? I love them. When I finish mill hills, I will put them on sticky back felt and cut it all out at the same time so that I get a nice back finish to it. This time I used extra beads to make the hanger for it, but this is Mill Hill Boris the Bat. And of course, once I got Boris done, I had to do Bat Cat. So this is Bat Cat. This time I used a ribbon for the hanger, but I did the same thing on the back. I put my sticky back felt on there before I cut it out, and then I cut it all out together. Yes, it does leave a little bit of residue on the scissors, but hand sanitizer. Just wipe it off with hand sanitizer and that residue comes right off. So I was in the mood for doing little things right then. And my next one I think is actually the smallest piece that I have ever finished. This is Halloween Bat postage stamp, cute embroidery by Kate on 32 count antique white. Small. But I think he is adorable. I love the way she put the extra things on here, like the postage stamp being stamped at the post office, and there's bats on the back of it. So we're up to number 17. 17 is the one that has the weird name as far as I'm concerned, but I like it. When I stitched this one, it's called Rear Mouse Bookmark, or KSK2-194 by Personalized Design on Etsy, and it was shown as a bookmark. I decided to use 32 count Nocturne, and this was the one that Thing gave me the inspiration for how to finish it, because I had this big spool and Thing had kind of taken it over as his place to perch here in the living room. So I wrapped this one around this giant wood spool. I sewed it together on the back. I don't know whether I'll leave it that way or not, but again, this is one that I just love the colors of it. I like the way that it looks, and I think it looks perfect on here, and so does Thing. Okay. Number 18 is from the 12 Monthly Minis by Primrose Cottage. It is the October one, stitched on 32 count cold foam. I finished this one as a little pin pillow, and I used leftover beads from my Mill Hill kits to put an edging around it. Again, Helen D has a tutorial on how to do that because I didn't want to do one. So that's project number 18. Which means it's time for that last video from the third person who stitched 24 bat projects in 2024. Her name is Linda. She is Linda413 on Instagram. Hers is a private account, so if you want to follow her, you have to request permission to follow her. But she does some pretty interesting things. So let's pause here and you can watch the little video of her projects. Okay, we're down to the final 6. The next one is called Witch's Apron. It was from Always Time to Stitch in 2024 Halloween Just Cross Stitch. This one is stitched on perforated paper, and this is the one that Thing did his little runway walk modeling for me. This is another one that I messed up when I started stitching it because the color that I used at the top was actually supposed to be the color at the bottom. but I decided that I liked it, and then I decided that I was going to play with this one. So I changed up the way the brooms were done. I changed the line between the color variation there. I added beads over the cauldron and for the bat's eyes. And seriously, I think this is really, really cute. And it's an adorable little ornament. I left the ties undone because Thing likes to put it on every once in a while. He plays dress up. It's a bit freaky. Because you know he does it on his own. Okay, Project 20. Project 20 is another freebie from Durene Jones. It was part of a stitch along she did called Trick or Treat. This one is actually part 1, and she titled it Death, and I think he is so cute. He's a little grim. He is stitched on 16 count Haunted, and I did a stand-up finish with him, getting the tutorial once again from Helen D. But this is my little Grim, and I think he is adorable. So adorable. And what fabric did I use on the back? Bats! Because I was a wee bit batty last year. What can I say? Just a wee bit batty. All right. The next one was not cross stitch. The next one was my wool project. Cheryl and Anna and I had gone up to Snohomish, Washington to spend the weekend with Colleen, Cheryl's sister. We stopped at a quilt store there. You know, I know these two ladies seem to think that if they take me into enough quilt stores that one day I'll go, oh, I think I'll make a quilt. I could list you a dozen reasons why that's not going to happen. Mostly because I walk in and I go, oh, fabric, that's pretty. Are we done yet? Oh, there's more fabric. Are we done yet? Oh yeah, that's pretty. Are we done yet? I don't have the love for fabric that these ladies have, but I like going on the adventures with them. And quilt stores sell more than just quilt stuff. Because while it's pretty, there's other stuff that I like more, like wool. This is from Little Halloween Bats, number 235, from Bare Roots. It was done on wool, and I made a little bag out of it. Now, it took me a while to figure out how to do this bag. It's one long piece of fabric, and I stitched my bat on it the wrong way. Because when I went to put the bag together, I realized that he was going to be like this. Bats don't do that unless they're doing Gothic dancing. Yeah. So I had to unstitch this whole thing, the border, peel it off, put more fusible on the back of it, stitch it back on there, checking 42 different times that I had it the right way, and then I made it together. When I rolled the cuff down, I stitched these buttons on the side to keep the cuff down and to hold the handle in place. I think this turned out really, what's the word? Adorable. Project number 21. So at this point in the game, I was starting to feel just a little bit burnt out on stitching bats. I mean, come on. I've done 21 projects so far, and I had 3 to go, and I was like, okay, the best way to do this is not start one at a time and finish it. start all 3 of them at once, work on them together, get them going. So project 22 is Little Bits of Halloween from the Drawn Thread. It is on 14 count Bayou by Atomic Ranch, and this is just a flat mount. I actually just covered the back with paper, but I love this. I had a lot of fun stitching this one, but this is one that you really have to think about, because while she tells you on the vertical version of it, and there's 3 different versions of this pattern in this pattern. There's a square one, there's a vertical one, and then there's a horizontal one. On the horizontal one, she gives you the spacing. On the vertical one, not so much. It took me a while to figure out where to start the next one down below, but I was tickled with myself. I figured it out. So this is Little Bits of Halloween by the Drawn Thread. Then there was Put on the Hat by Hands On Design. I stitched this on 16 count Gray Magic by BeStitchMe. It had come as a kit with the velveteen. So here is Put on the Hat. And right here is the seam. This one I actually hand sewed together to get those pieces to line up. And I think that they did pretty good. Pretty good. The other thing I did when I was finishing this one, when I first started finishing drums, I put a disc in the top here, which meant that you really didn't have much space to stick your pins. Well, I needed to do that to get the shape and to sew it on here, but what I did is I made sure that I was just catching the velveteen when I was stitching it, and when I had this stitched on, I actually bended it and took that piece of mat board out of there, so my pins now go in it anywhere because there's nothing blocking the pins on the top. And I think I will be doing that whenever I make another drum going forward. But this is Put on the Hat with bats, because hashtag 24 bats in 2024. And this fabric is purple. This was sent to me from, why don't I write things down? It'll be down below. All right, the final project for hashtag 24 bats in 2024. This one I posted pictures on Instagram, and I know I had a little video in one of my previous videos. Mark and I had gone on a road trip, and we ended up staying at Wolf Creek Inn in Wolf Creek, Oregon. And they had decorated the whole place for Halloween, which was a surprise, and it was wonderful. And it was a surprise, and it was wonderful, so wonderful. But I finished this one there, and when I did, I took it over to the piano because there was a skeleton playing the piano, and I draped it across the piano and took a picture of it. This is Dark Shadows Trick or Treat by Sue Hillis on 16 count toast by BeStitchMe. It's just a flat mount. I made it into a tombstone shape, and again, just covered the back of it with paper so that it can be tucked in amongst pillows and flat folds and what have you. So that's all 24 bats for hashtag 24 bats in 2024. But wait, there's more. I was excited. I got to stitch something besides bats. And I started a piece that I had found at Acorns and Threads. It's a pattern called Coffee House Witches by Annabella's, and I stitched it on 14 count Bayou because I really liked the 14 count Bayou. And on another road trip that Mark and I took in the Willys Jeep, I found a little breadboard. But when I was stitching this piece, what did I notice in the pattern? Why, there's bats. There's 3 of them. So this is hashtag 25. No, we're not doing that. It's the 25th bat in hashtag 24 bats in 2024. When I tried to finish it on this, I wanted to do it just as a rectangular shape. That didn't work with this cutting board, breadboard, cheese board, whatever you want to call it. I ended up trimming this down really, really, really close. Really close. But I like the way that it looks. I did like the pattern showed on the cover and trim the corners back, which I think really helps on this cutting board here. So this is project number 25. But was that enough? No, because my friend Cheryl said, "Oh, Audrey, look, here's a freebie from the Blue Flower. You need to stitch this for hashtag 24 bats in 2024. So I did, because it's a Christmas bat. It's called Festive Fruit Bat from the Blue Flower, and he's adorable. I used twine to go around this ornament finish, and I used just some paper on the back of that because it's a real simple way to use up all your scrap paper if you're a scrapbooker like me. But this is project 26 of hashtag 24 bats in 2024. Hold on a moment. I forgot something, and I had to go grab it. And of course, when I came around, I use a Canon camera to record my videos, so I have a tripod in front of me. And I'm always barefoot when I'm recording my videos because I'm in my house and it's just easier to walk around. And I came around the tripod after collecting the thing that I wanted to share with you and caught my toes, or the tripod between my toes, and almost knocked everything over. Yeah, there you go. I got a text message from Sarah at Acorns and Threads. She's one of the lovely ladies that works up there. She is a volunteer for a group called the Prescott Bluebird Recovery Project. And she had contacted me a while back, and she said, "Do you have any photos that you could share with me of your 24 bat projects?" And I said, "Well, you can do like I do. You can go onto Instagram and you can harvest a photo, any one you want. That's fine by me." And I said, "What did you want it for?" And she said, "Well, one of the volunteers had sent in a story about what he does, and he didn't get to take a picture like they usually do, and she thought it would be fun to include one of my bat projects in there." This is a Bluebird group, and she wants a picture of bats. She recently sent me a copy of the newsletter. And inside there is a story. And I'm going to read you the story because I think it's kind of cute. This is called Nest Box Surprise by David Wesley. I've been a nest box monitor for 5 years, and my route of 26 boxes is located in the Laurel and Bald Creek areas of southern Washington County. It's a beautiful area of rolling hills with scattered farmland, numerous hazelnut orchards, and vineyards. Homes with associated acreage are scattered along the rural roads. Experienced monitors know that in addition to bluebirds, other bird species, including violet-green swallows, house wrens, chickadees, and house sparrows, find our boxes attractive. I have also found mice, chipmunks, and paper wasps will adopt the boxes for their homes, but nothing prepared me for what I found on the afternoon of July 25th this summer. One of the most productive boxes that I had had over the past years had a nest with 3 eggs that failed in June, and I was hopeful a second attempt would be made. On my weekly route, I carefully opened the box, hoping for a new nest or nest start. Clinging to the kerf cuts under the opening was a sleeping bat. I was so surprised I forgot to take a photograph, even though I had my phone in my pocket. I went back the next day to document the sighting, but it was gone. It never came back to the box, and the bluebirds never attempted another nesting. The story goes on, but that's all we need of that. What she did is she went online and she took this photo of my bat projects and used it to go along with the story because this gentleman found a bat in his bird box. The wording under the photo: imagine finding one of these in a nest box. In parentheses, no actual bats were harmed in the crafting of this. Photo credit, Audrey Walster. So that's the first time I've ever had a published photo. It might just be in a newsletter, but it meant a lot to me that she decided to include one of my photos to make up for the fact that this gentleman didn't get a photo of his bat. So that was rather fun. Now we come to the drawing part. Like I said, there were 3 ladies who did things. There was Jen, Linda, and Debbie. Whichever one I draw will be the winner of a $24 gift certificate from Acorns and Threads. By the way, I haven't purchased that yet. They're closed. They'll open up again tomorrow because they got to close for Christmas. So anyway, Jen, 5871 Jen D on Instagram is the winner of the $24 gift certificate to Acorns and Threads. Jen, I will contact you through Instagram. I will give you a password to use to collect your $24 gift certificate from Acorns and Threads. But that won't be until after tomorrow. So there you go. Okay. It's time for a life update. And this is the hard part of my video. I sometimes wonder if I share too much on my videos, but then again I look back at the fact that I have been doing this for 7 years and I've had some tough things happen. There was the fire, there was the ice storm, there were a couple of different surgeries, yeah. But I share things on my videos not because I'm trying to get sympathy from anybody, but because I believe in the fact that if you share when you're going through a tough time, And number one, it eases the burden. It really does. But number two, in sharing, maybe in some way, somehow you help somebody else, because they might realize that whatever it is that they're going through, they're not alone. So, long story short, the reason I took my hiatus in November is because I was diagnosed with cancer. Maybe. I know who says that. I was diagnosed with cancer. Maybe. So, let's see if I can make this as short as possible, because it's convoluted, to say the least. A year ago, December 2023, I had my gallbladder removed. And right before that surgery happened, they did a CT scan, and they saw something on the CT scan that shouldn't be there. So after that surgery was over, my doctor had me come in and told me there's a spot, and they wanted me to follow up and have an MRI done to watch this spot. So the end of May, I went in and I had an MRI done. And I remember talking about that because I'm claustrophobic and I don't like MRIs. I don't like being in that tube for 20 to 25 minutes. I'm claustrophobic. And I got through it by doing a mental floss tube. I remember talking about that. So after that MRI was done, my doctor called me in and said, yes, there's still a spot there. We can't tell what it is from the MRI. It's something that we have to keep track of. But if it's what he thinks it is, we've caught it early. So this was the first time that it was mentioned to me that it might be cancer. And I did what I do. When you don't know what it is, you give it a name. I named the spot Schrodinger, because if you know who Schrodinger is, you'll understand this. My spot named Schrodinger neither is nor is not cancer. It's Schrodinger. So my doctor said, we need to do another MRI in 6 months. And I said, I'm claustrophobic. Will you be able to see what you need to see if we did another CT scan? And he goes, well, we can give you meds to help with your anxiety. And I said, no, you don't want to do that and then stick me in a tube, because no. So he agreed to doing another CT scan. I did the CT scan the beginning of November. I get a call from my doctor the next day, and he goes, okay, we've got a couple of things to talk about. He goes, I need you to make an appointment with me as soon as possible. The spot has gotten bigger, and you have another blood clot. So he sent in a prescription for me and got me back on blood thinners. Imagine which word I used. So Mark and I went to see my family doctor, and again he brought up the cancer word. And he said, but the thing of it is, Audrey, if it is, we've caught it incredibly early, because where it's at is on my pancreas. And most people don't know that they have pancreatic cancer until it is extremely advanced. If it is, it's been caught incredibly early. The blood clot is on the vein going to the spleen. So he sent me a referral to go up and see a specialist at OHSU, which is Oregon Health Sciences University in Portland. I saw my doctor on Friday. On Monday, I went into Salem gastro to have a preliminary appointment there, because the other thing he had referred me for was an endoscopic ultrasound and biopsy. On Wednesday, Mark and I went up to OHSU, and they did yet another CT scan. And this one they did so fast that when they put me in the machine, the claustrophobia hit, and it hit hard. And I'm yelling at them, get me out, get me out, get me out, get me out, get me out. And they did. They got me out. I sat on the edge of the table, and one of the technicians goes, "Are you going to be able to do this?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Just give me a moment. How long is it going to take?" And he said, "Less than 5 minutes." And I said, "All right." And I literally sat there. And I breathed. And after a few minutes I said, "Okay, let's do this." We did it, and then we went and met with the specialist. And he explained to us yet again, if this is cancer, it has been caught very early, and what he suggested was surgery to remove part of my pancreas and to remove my spleen, and that this could be done laparoscopically, and that I could either do chemo treatments before surgery or I could do chemo treatments after surgery. So I asked the big question. I said, if it's not cancer, would I still have to do the chemo? And he said no. And I said, well, then there's no reason to do the chemo ahead of time as far as I'm concerned. Let's just schedule the surgery and then deal with it afterwards. So we were left there that it was going to be a laparoscopic surgery, maybe followed by chemo, depending on whether or not it actually is cancer. He then had a 3-week commitment somewhere else. In that 3-week period of time, I did go into Salem Hospital, and I did have the ultrasound and the biopsy done. And the doctor mentioned the word metastasized. Now, to me, that means that the cancer cells have spread. But nothing says that anything has spread. But if he used the word metastasized, that must mean that it's cancer. Well, crap. Insert other word there. So now I'm kind of in a waiting, holding period until the specialist gets back and I can schedule another appointment with him. I started getting calls from the Salem Cancer Support and from Oregon Oncology wanting to schedule chemo, but we can't schedule chemo because I don't know when the surgery is going to be. It was a bit intense. A bit intense. The doctor finally came back. We had an appointment to go up and see him again. And when we sat down and talked with him this time, he said that he read the pathology report. And based on his understanding of the pathology report, it doesn't say that this spot is cancer. So Schrodinger is back to being cancer because at this point in time, we still don't know if Schrodinger is or is not cancer. Okay, that's good. If it is pancreatic cancer, it's been caught early. It's been caught so early that the biopsy report can't conclusively say it is cancer. So that's good. The bad thing is, I still have to have surgery. Only now, instead of having a laparoscopic surgery, it's going to be an open surgery to remove the tail end of my pancreas and my spleen. And they will do another pathology test while I'm open so that the doctor can remove any extra tissues until he gets clean margins. And that will be followed up with a week's stay up at OHSU Hospital. Word. Mentally and emotionally, I am fine with this. It's a lot to take in, but I'm fine with this. What's freaking me out is the having to stay in the hospital for the week up in Portland. I don't like hospitals. So, there's that. If anybody wants to send me a get well card sometime the middle of the month towards the end of the month, please do. That would be nice. That'd give me something to look forward to, other than staying in the hospital for a week. As of today, I do not know when that surgery will be scheduled. I was told that they would probably contact me right after the first of the year, and since today is January 1st, that means I still don't know. But my understanding is that it will happen sometime mid-January, towards the end of January, followed by a week's stay up at OHSU. Just breathe. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to get through this. Whatever it is, whatever Schrodinger is, I'm going to get through it. I have Mark, I have my family, I have my kids. I hated telling them on Thanksgiving, but it was the only time I had them all together. My siblings have checked in with me. My niece has checked in with me. I have a couple of very dear friends who have been more than supportive through this whole thing. And once I learned that I would be facing surgery, I decided to self-isolate. So I've been home since the beginning of December by myself and Mark, simply because I didn't want to go out and risk getting cooties from anybody prior to having an open surgery. That's not happening. I want the surgery to happen sooner rather than later. I want to get that stay in the hospital over. I won't know until after the surgery whether or not I'll be having chemo. I told the specialist, I have plans. I've already had to cancel one of them. I was going to go to Acorn gatherings again this year. I signed up and was accepted for that, and I've had to cancel that because if I have surgery mid-January, I'm not going to feel like sitting in a class on January 26th. It'll be too soon. So I decided to back out of those plans. But I have a trip planned for April, and I'm going. I am going to be there. Whether they have me doing chemo or not, I'm going to be there. I want to do this. I'm going to make my friends drag me along. I'm going on my trip in April. So, what are my plans for 2025? Obviously, they're up in the air right now. I wanted to do a little whip parade. I've got less than 10 projects that I'm currently working on, and I thought that I would do a whip parade with those. It would be nice if I could get that done before I have the surgery. But I wanted to get this video up because I had promised it, and 26 projects, people, fully finished. You tell me another video where you have 26 projects fully finished. I dare you. I triple dog dare you. But I'm going to leave you with some stats for 2024, and it's all because of these. I had 38 starts in 2024, and every project that I started in 2024, all 38 of them were finished. What? Who does that? I did, and it's because of the bats. I had 38 finishes from the 38 projects, but there was actually a 39th finish. That was my Alphonse Mucha. She's at the Framers. So hopefully I will be getting her back sometime this week. And if I do a whip parade, I'll be able to share her because she's gorgeous. I had 31 FFOs. So, my whip parade that I want to do are all projects started before 2024. And the oldest one is started in 2020. Because that's me. Anyway, if you have watched this whole video, thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, thank you for coming and visiting with me. If you are a subscriber, thank you ever so much for being a subscriber. I hope that if you are not, that you would consider liking and subscribing this video and enjoying and joining my version of cross stitch and my crazy world. Because it is. And until we meet again, my friends, live long. And I mean it. Live long and stitch on. Bye-bye, everyone.